All right, everyone. It is the 28th, and this is our final podcast of the Christmas experience.
Merry Christmas!
Yep. Merry Christmas.
So, our general theme today is the theme of Epiphany and kind of just pulling some concepts from it. So it isn't a traditional Epiphany thing,
right.
but it's inspired by Epiphany. And
can you take a quick second and explain Epiphany, or were you getting there?
I mean, that was kind of the goal of our podcast. So
just get to it, KJ.
Let's put the tree away already.
Yeah. All right. If you had a goal of the Christmas season, like that kind of thing, I'm already starting to cry.
I love it.
If you had a goal of the Christmas season, Epiphany is the day. It's that's the things hoped for, the things prayed for. I think it's cool that it's called Epiphany because it's like oh wow. Mm-hmm. I know, like I almost didn't expect it to happen. Oh wow. I anticipated it. I was hoping for a surprise, and then I've been pursuing it, and oh wow. There it is. I'm going to hold on to this. Mm-hmm. And it's the thing you carry on to, or you hold on to for the upcoming season. Here's how I'm going to be transformed. Here's what he showed me. Here's the apple fell from the tree and hit me in the head. You know, it's like that type of, I'm going for it. Our past couple of podcasts have been about on the 26th, the conversation had been anticipation. So Mary and Joseph anticipated the birth of Christ. They prepared for it. And there's a ton about the Christmas season that there's the anticipation. The 27th had been about the shepherds in the fields and the surprise and the hope and the desire for God to surprise us, you know, like that kind of like thing. And then our experience of Epiphany and how it's going to be talked about today is the pursuit. And the characters biblically that our topic is going to be grounded in is the wise men from Persia who hadn't been surprised at the birth of Christ at all. In fact, they possibly anticipated it, had been excited by the surprise that was presented in the stars, and then they began a pursuit that lasted a really long time to the point of by the time they got to see Jesus, they weren't surprised. They were almost saying, I knew it. Mm. Okay, like it's I knew it. And so to embody a character who pursues out of a conviction and determination, they embody this idea of, I'm not surprised at all. I knew this was going to happen, and I knew he'd be right here. Mm. All right. I'm setting the table.
Is it possible they knew before anyone else? Like pre-angels appearing to Mary, pre-angels appearing to Joseph, pre-pregnancy, like...
There are a lot of theories on the timeline here, and I just want
That's why, is it possible?
Yeah, I just want there to be grace over this conversation because there is some old guy at home saying, I've calculated it all out. And, you know, I'm just like, I know. Yeah. So from the things that I've heard is from the time they saw the star to the time that they found Jesus, that the odds are it was 3 years, if not more than that. I would say it's not only possible, it's highly probable. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And they didn't like show up the day he was born.
No,
Jesus was like, how old was Jesus when? I know this isn't the point,
yeah.
but
He
it's
was
like it's
done
good
being weaned.
context for
Yeah,
like
it
to
is.
understand the story.
Yeah.
He was not a big infant. He's probably a toddler.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, like if
Yeah.
you know, and again, timelines are what they are. But I think what the text says is he had already been weaned, and
Yeah.
so that means he wasn't breastfeeding anymore.
Yeah. And
I know what weaned is.
Okay, well maybe they did.
and so even thinking about how this podcast
Yeah.
has been on December 26th, like how fun it was to be like, man, it's so cool having a conversation about the birth of
Yes.
Jesus. 27th is like, yes, we have the gift of doing that. The party has come and gone, but the pursuit that these guys are on, other people have already
Yes.
been there
Yep.
and have gone home.
Yep.
This is old news to some people,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. This maybe a little bit contradicts the two scenarios that we talked about the past 2 days.
Love it.
But I think I like to believe and do believe that at our core, that is every human being's experience, even
what?
if they don't know it.
Explain it.
They are in the pursuit of something that they know to be true
Yeah.
to the degree that they are spending all of their mind and heart and energy going after it, just with the lack of direction and clarity that the wise men had. But just the reality of like, I know something's there. I haven't seen it with my own eyes. I think it's this direction and moving towards it.
Oh, 100%. There is something inside of us, and it's baffling, that keeps us getting up day after day.
Right.
And there's something inside of us that says things are going to get better, but they never do. You know what I mean? And so,
Merry Christmas.
but it's that.
It's hope.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to get up. And it's like, all right, today's going to
Yeah.
be a good day. I know, and there's something that there's this heartbeat cadence banging on a drums. All of us hear the same thing.
Yeah.
It's weird.
So when I think about the wise men, right, and this whole idea of pursuit and what does that mean in Christmas, like try to really wrap your mind around what it meant for them to travel all the way to go find Jesus, to follow the star, right? Like I've read some of the same
Yeah.
numbers you have, 3 years.
Yeah.
When is the last time you dedicated 3 years of your life solely to one thing?
To any, yeah.
Where like literally
Parenting,
they
maybe.
they walked away from their home country,
Sourdough
their
bacon.
friends, their family. They literally left everything behind
Yeah.
and they went to Herod and said, "Where is this king?"
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, man, when I think about this idea of pursuit, it's not this casual like, oh, like I might meander over this way.
Yeah.
Like pursuit in the context of Christmas, it is an alignment of everything you are, everything you have, and everything you do moving towards the God who is with us.
Man.
Like that's the invitation.
Yep.
It's not just this well, just sprinkle a little Jesus on the side. You know, like it's like no, like your entire trajectory is pointed at him.
And then you have to think the why.
Yeah.
So the finding of Jesus didn't happen to them. And they didn't say, how does this change everything for me? It was their journey begun at that point of saying, he is born and it's going to change everything. And then the pursuit came from there. And so thinking about this Christmas journey for us, Epiphany is not a day of like asking questions. It's a day of, I knew it.
Yeah.
There's a confidence in it. There's a, oh man, I don't have good answers here, but there's they gave Jesus their gifts. They didn't ask Jesus for them.
Yeah.
It's not, tell me the gifts I bring, Jesus. Show me how I'm to be used. It's a, you are here, and here's what I bring. And in this reality, you and I collide. Heaven crashes into earth. It's I don't know. I have to have help here, but I feel it and I see it, and I'm almost begging for Epiphany to happen.
Well, and that's the thing, KJ. Like, so I think about the pursuit that they were on, right? They had that beginning point when they first saw the star.
Yep.
It ends essentially when they do come to Jesus with the gold, frankincense, and myrrh, and they bow before him. The thing I think about is, okay, so there's the pursuit, but what did that journey look like for them?
Oh, that's good.
Because the truth is, their journey, like everything we've talked about in terms of the anticipation, the surprise, the pursuit, like their journey truthfully took them through all three of those things. And so it's almost
that's
like
good.
In walking through these things,
Yep.
that's where we start to find that conviction that they had by the time they got there. Because can you imagine the conversations they had as they're just walking hundreds and hundreds of miles?
And
the things,
timeline.
Yeah.
Sheer timeline. Yeah.
and that had to do something to them.
Yeah.
Right. And this is why I think the whole Christmas season and actually honoring the entirety of it is so important, because it's not just, okay, we've got the one day and we did it, or we just skip all the way to the end and we did it. Like, you've got to faithfully walk through each and every day of this season saying, okay, God, you are here. I am here. What do you have for me? So that by the time you get to the end, you very much are, I think, like those wise men, where you're saying, okay, like, here is what I have for you.
Yeah.
But it's that journey, I think, that really prepares us to get to that place, because I don't think you start there.
No.
Like, I think it's impossible to start there. You've got to walk on that road.
That's so good. All right, I don't want to jump ahead too much, but I also want to talk about the practicality of things. I want to talk about the day after. I want to talk about the things that are 100% speculation here. So they go on this journey that has defined them. And even before that journey, everything was focused on the sky and the stars, to the point when it happened after hundreds of years of staring at the sky, right? Like, they are the blessed people to get to go on this journey. And so this journey defines them. They get to be the people who find the incarnation of God on earth, right? They give him the gifts. They anoint him king. I mean, that's what's happening in these gifts. And then they go home. What happens? Right? Like,
You're a changed person, I would assume.
maybe. Like, I mean, like,
of course.
Yeah, okay, let's go for it.
You can be a changed person after a sabbatical, after a vacation, after
An incredible chicken sandwich.
An incredible chicken
sandwich.
To go on this journey, to experience, to have the conversations that they had, to get to a place where when you see the Son of God and you are like, this is my gift and I knew it, you have to walk away from that a changed person.
Yeah. I want to unpack that a bit more, because, like, I think it would be easy. It would be easy if I'm projecting myself in this story. Mm-hmm. Well, that was over.
Yep, me too.
And I'd be sad.
He was kind of loud.
Well, we'll give you guys your space. You seem really tired.
Time for us to go.
Because you had the experience. Right?
Obviously, that's a projection.
Projection, yeah.
Yes.
Or there is the thing, and I'm kind of hoping, because for 2,000 years the church says this experience embodies Epiphany, and Epiphany is the ultimate transformation of the human heart. So this experience that they had was the great Epiphany, right? So they probably didn't go home sad. They went home transformed. What does that look like? Because I'll tell you what it doesn't look like. It doesn't look like December 26th saying, well, I think that's it.
Yeah.
And being sad, right? It's the opposite of that.
Well,
It's going, and someone asking, how did your Christmas go? And you going, the best Christmas ever. Like that
there's more.
changed my life.
Yeah. Well, so what we do know about the wise men, right? So when they first went to go find Jesus,
Yes.
they went to Herod.
Yes.
And what did Herod tell him? All right, well, when you find him, come back and tell me so I can go and worship him.
Yes.
Now, the wise men in that moment,
Yep.
they were probably going to go back to Herod
Right.
because that's what you did, right? You didn't violate protocol like that. You want to honor other people.
Especially if he's king of the land.
Exactly. But after they visited, right, the angels came
Yep.
and said, hey, go another way.
Yep.
And so they literally, like, and I don't want to say literally because the text doesn't tell us this, but like probably, very likely,
Possibly.
put contracts out in their own lives by not going back to Herod. Like they were that moved by what they had experienced. They were that transformed by the encounter with King Jesus that they said, we are going to defy Herod. We are going to defy Rome because this one, he is worth protecting. Like, so when I think like transformation, it's like, well, yeah, like I can't see a reality where this was just oh, that was fun. All right, let's go home. It's been a while since I've seen my wife. She's probably a little angry at me. Yeah. It's like, no, like they literally made a decision that could have cost them their lives had they been caught.
Yeah, and I also think like for them to find a child and say, our search ends here.
Yeah.
Like, what? I mean, especially like, this is it. What happened? And from, again, the traditional point of view of Epiphany, there isn't an answer because the hope is you get that too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I wonder if, because based on like what you were talking about, like they had to leave. And by that, like they were given the gift of like participating in the story of things. Like by choosing to leave, the story progressed. If they had stayed, the story would have ended. So that was like an act of sacrifice from the get-go, which makes me think, and again, we're like in the speculative area. If they had been allowed to stay, if they didn't have to go, would they have stayed? What would that have looked like?
Wow. That's really good. Because just inviting the poetry to speak a bit, I think in towards the end of the Christmas season, it's time to go. There comes a point that it's like, man, I've been so blessed by this. I have been transformed by this. I anticipated him. I prepared for him. He surprised me. I got to see his face. It's time to go.
And so I think about those wise men when they went back to their homes, and I wonder, how did that change the places they lived? Like, what did they carry with them? And then I think about us as we step into Epiphany, and thinking about everything that we walk through with peace, hope, love, and joy, going through Advent. It's like, okay, these are things that we anticipated. These are things that we experienced in this Christmas season, things that have now been imparted into us. And so as we move on from the Christmas season, how are we going to actually carry those things with us into the places and spaces that God has us? Are we a people of peace and of hope and of love and of joy? And do we manifest these things and impart them to other people? Right? I can't say this for sure, but one thing I do know is that Jesus would often encounter people. I specifically think like the Decapolis area, like which is where all like the pagan people lived in the region of Galilee. For the longest time, scholars thought like, oh yeah, there were no churches over here. Like, the Christianity had never made its way over here. Well, that is until about 10 or 15 years ago, they actually found a church there. And as they started to excavate this church and look at it, they find roots being traced back to the demoniac in Mark 5, who had been set free and, sent out into that region.
No way.
Yeah,
Jesus said, "Don't follow me."
Yeah,
right?
he said, go
Yeah.
back to your place and tell them all the things that God has done for you. And so when you look at Jesus, he's got this history of imparting things to people and sending them so that those things he imparted begin to grow. So, in one of the earlier podcasts, we talked about this idea of like a mustard seed.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. And Christmas is when that thing was planted and then it blooms.
Yep.
Well, I think Epiphany is when we start to see that thing blooming. Okay. And as we go on throughout the rest of the year, it blooms and it blooms and it blooms and it blooms. And there's something beautiful about that. So to answer the question, were they changed? Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. What did it look like? I have no idea, but I bet it was pretty freaking awesome because I don't think you can encounter the Son of God and be in Jesus' presence and walk away unimpacted.
It's really good.
The paradox of this is fun. And we started this by saying you can't leave too quickly.
Yeah.
Like we need to stay here a while to really figure this out. But the place it seems like we're coming to is now that you've stayed here a while, you can't stay.
Yeah.
Now you have to go. And there's a purposeful reason behind it.
Yeah.
So it's like, what do we not get the opportunity to do if we had our tree up all year long and we stayed in this place? What do we get the opportunity to do when it is time to put our gifts down, go back to where we're going, proverbially? I don't know.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
I love it.
Well, I was just in this, like, when you found the thing that you've been searching for, what is it that you do after?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. And I don't think we should define, I don't think we should be of the mind that the four of us over these 4 days have successfully brought everyone listening to that place. Like,
No, yeah.
maybe it will be years.
Yes.
Like, I love the question that you asked Nathan. It was like, when's the last time like you gave 3 years to something? But that kind of made me think. It's like, well,
College.
yeah. But then, like, thinking about like the human pursuit, like I think I heard this in a show you and I like watched recently. I think someone on the show said water has a very good memory. It's always trying to get back to where it came from.
Yep.
I think that's true of us as well. Is like deep within the core of our being. There is a memory of where we came from.
Yep.
And we're constantly trying to get back to it. And sometimes we get dammed up and we can't move forward. Or sometimes we go down a valley that's like we have to evaporate and like turn into a cloud that takes a long journey, and then we rain somewhere else, and finally we're in like the valley that heads like where we're going for. But I think like we talk about just like, man, what a journey they must have gone on for 3 years, as if like that is a significant thing. When there's so many people listening who have been on that journey 5 times longer than that, and maybe they have 5 years left to go, and just acknowledging that that's okay and that's valuable.
Yeah.
And just as you said, if it wasn't for that journey, they wouldn't have come to these places. Like, instead of, I don't know, I'm sure there's people listening where like they're viewing themselves as lost when they're not lost. They're just midway in the journey, heading to where they need to go, heading towards Epiphany.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. It brings me into a place that I want to like pray for Epiphany. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
you know, and encourage the journey. And the thing that's incredible about being able to pray for Epiphany during the time of Christ is that you're not alone. Is that the journey is he is right by our side, and he is speaking to us and guiding us, and that Epiphany is not happening in a vacuum, that the church is proclaiming it, and even if you're in a place that you just can't believe, the person standing by you does. And I don't know, there's a lot to be said about the journey ahead of us.
Yeah.
All right, so how does this end and something else begin? I almost want to end it in a blessing, but I don't have it. Do you have a blessing? Because you
I
tend to have them
agree.
bubble up.
Just
We'll see.
Always
Let's
there.
see.
Okay, yeah.
If you are weary from walking, may you keep going. Because there's nothing else you could possibly do. If you are walking behind someone, may you have grace on yourself. If you are walking in front of someone, may you have grace on them. If you have arrived at Epiphany and it's time to leave, may you leave with purpose. And if you have just arrived at Epiphany, may you give yourself the time and space to stay until you're told it's time to go. The four of us love you very much. And together we pray this blessing over you. In the name of the Jesus who is with you right now in this moment. Amen.
And